Begg's Banter is brought to you by Saltire Energy, who continue to lead the way in the oil and gas industry when it comes to specialist equipment rental. Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to this brand new edition of Begg's Banter. If you're watching for the very first time, you're more than welcome. The concept behind this show is quite simple. This is where I speak with a host of ex-Aberdeen players about their time at Pittodrie. For my latest show, I'm absolutely delighted to be speaking with former Aberdeen midfielder Graham Watson. Graham had a somewhat unfortunate time with Aberdeen where he suffered two serious leg breaks. He had 20 appearances, scoring just the one goal between 1986 and 1994. But who will ever forget his courage to step up to take a penalty in the 1990 Scottish Cup final against Celtic? Please welcome to Begg's Banter, Graham Watson. Hi Graham, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for jumping on this edition of Begg's Banter. Are you okay? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Thank you again. Right, so let's get straight into it. Can you remember the process which saw you actually join Aberdeen?
Well, it's a long time ago, but yeah, there was a wee bit of a story beyond that. I should have actually, I maybe never actually could have been a Aberdeen player because I'd actually signed for East Fife as a youngster, believe it or not.
Ah, really? Did you?
It was I was just playing away with my boys' club team, and the manager at my boys' club team was actually associated with East Fife, who was one of the players, a guy called David Gorman. So I was playing away for the team and I was doing okay, but he just out of the blue he says to me, "Oh, I think you're going to get a visit for the manager for East Fife." It was a Dave Clark, so it was totally out of the blue. And my dad always dreamed of one of his boys playing professionally. So they came to my house that night, just pretty much unannounced, and said that they wanted to sign me on an S form. And my dad was desperate for me to sign my club, so I ended up signing. So me and my dad signed the forms, believe it or not. And it was the next day when I was at school, the guy that came overseeing my boys' club team came to me, and because he used to work in the school, he says, "Did you sign for East Fife?" I says, "Aye." He says, "Oh, why are you doing that?" He says, "There's a few clubs have been watching you." And I goes, "You're kidding?" And he goes, "No." I said, "Well, you could have told me." So he kind of, and then he rattled off a few of the teams like Dundee United, and Man City, I think, at the time as well.
Wow.
And he said, but at that time, the headmaster had to sign your S form, so
Yeah,
your schoolboy form.
yeah.
So he says to me, "Look, I could have a word with the headmaster if you want and see." So he pulled me into his office, and he says he had the form in front of him, and he says, "Oh, I've heard that you might have signed this by mistake." And I goes, "Well, yeah, there's other teams that are interested." So, and he just ripped the form up. He
Did
didn't
he?
sign it. East Five, I never spoke to me again like that. And then just from there, I started training with a few clubs, and the next thing I heard is that Aberdeen were at a game I didn't know about. It was a Scottish Cup game, and then I got a phone call for the scout at the time, who was a Jimmy Carswell,
Hmm.
and he invited me up just for a week. I used to go up at the school holidays back at that time. I didn't think the boys were too chuffed because I was the only guy for Fife. So they had to, most of the guys were from Glasgow, so they had to do a bit of a detour to pick me up at Kirkcaldy. So I think it added about 2 hours onto and then I spent a week up just training away and really enjoyed it. And at the end of that, they asked me to sign a schoolboy form, but before I'd went up there, I'd kind of, because I'd spoke to a couple of other clubs, and Man City had come, who obviously at that time weren't anywhere near what they
Mm,
were now. But
mm.
and the scout, I think at that time you weren't allowed to sign for an English team because I think a lot of the good Scottish guys were going down there. So until you were 16,
Okay.
so he pretty much says if you hold off to your 16. Um, so I kind of made a decision that yeah, I'll train with clubs, but I'm not going to sign. So I didn't sign to start with, and I just used to go up and train with them for a week during the holidays. But I was also training with Dundee United, Dundee, and a couple of other teams. So I just kind of kept my options open. Um, And then we used to go and train at Glasgow once a month. I can't remember the name of the place, but it was an AstroTurf pitch quite near Parkhead.
Hmm.
And it was Alec Ferguson and that used to come down and Archie Knox to the training. And so I think I'd been probably going up to train maybe about a year at this point. I'd kept kind of knocking them back. And then after training one night, he kind of pulled me in, me and my dad as well. And Alec Ferguson, he kind of says, "Look, I want you to sign." He says, I've only done it with one other player, it was Stevie Gray, believe it or not. He says,
Oh, really?
"If you sign an S form with us, I'll guarantee you a 2-year contract, professional, to come full time when you're 16 or 15, 16.
Okay.
So, I mean, I really liked that Aberdeen, and it was where I was wanting to go in any case, but I think that just kind of sealed it. So I signed a schoolboy form, and then that was really me, and I just kept going up until training every holidays until
So
we reached I reached
sorry, Graham, how
15.
old were you at this time?
I think I probably started training maybe 13,
Ah, okay.
around about 13 maybe,
Okay.
13 and a half, and then
So when did you sign your S form?
it was probably when I was about 14, because I think I'm sure I maybe trained about a year before I left school,
Okay.
and I left school at 15. So, and that's when I moved up to Aberdeen.
Okay. And is that when, so were you still on a schoolboy form when you moved up to Aberdeen? So when did you sign your full-time form? At what age?
Um, well, I'm sure it was when we first went up. I
Yeah.
didn't like they didn't really have YT forms of that at
Yeah.
that time. So, um, see, to be honest, I'm not sure. I can't really remember signing a
Okay.
form, but I knew I was guaranteed a 2-year contract, so I
Yeah.
must have signed something. But I seem to remember when, because I was there about 6 months before Alec Ferguson and Archie left. And then I seem to remember all the young boys getting signed up on the forums then, so I can't remember if it was
Ah, okay.
at that time or no, because there was rumours going about that maybe some of the young boys would look to get some of the young boys down
Yeah.
to Manchester, but I don't know if there was any truth in that or no. But I can't remember if I signed right away when I first went up, or if it was after a few months.
Did you have much dealings with Sir Alex and Archie Knox in that time that you moved up to Aberdeen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they took a lot of interest in the young boys.
Yeah.
So when you used to go up on your kind of weeks, they would spend a bit of time with you. They would come into the training, they'd watch the games and that. When I went up full time, um, they wouldn't be directly involved in our training
Sure.
because they were with the first team, but would always take an interest, kind of like after your training, and if you were going out in the afternoon or that, they would maybe take part in some of the sessions, but they would always be winding you up. It was pretty mental, some of the stuff that they used to do. Archie probably more so than
Yeah.
Sir Alex, but it was a bit of a crazy time, like some mental stories.
Yeah. So what was so obviously they left and then Ian Porterfield came in. Did you have much dealings with him?
Yeah, again, I was obviously still a fairly young boy at the time. I'm
Yeah.
sure that when because my contract ended, that 2 years contract that I'd got when
Okay.
I first went up had ended during his period of time. So I signed another 2-year contract, I think it was, when he was there. So but yeah, I mean, he was quite a quiet guy, but he had some involvement with us, but no a great deal.
Okay.
His assistant was probably more involved with us.
Yeah, Jimmy Mullen.
Jimmy Mullen, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jimmy Mullen.
Yeah. Okay. Um, how good was that crop of youngsters that came through at that time, Graham? How impressed were you with your teammates at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was really a really good crop of youngsters, because the team itself was really strong. When you look at the squad that they had at that time, it was they were a really good team. And yeah, the youngsters that were coming up alongside myself, like Stevie Wright, Greg Watson, obviously Ian Jess was there, Scott Booth. So that, yeah, there was a good bunch, but even kind of ones that were slightly older
Hmm.
than us, Scott Harvey. There was a load of young boys that were really good players. So yeah, really good. And I knew it was going to be difficult, yeah, to kind of break through, if you like. Yeah.
Hmm. See
into
when
the first team.
see when Alex Smith and Jockey Scott then came in, and obviously Drew came in as well.
Yeah.
Did you notice a sort of a difference in training, preparation, that anything that you had been used to before? Were they completely different?
Probably. I can't remember exactly the training that we've got with Ian Porterfield but certainly the training. I remember the training with Archie Knox. Archie was excellent, as was kind of obviously Sir Alex.
Yeah.
Their training was really good. Um, and then when Jockey and Alex Smith came in, they were. I mean, Jockey was a. They were both brilliant coaches, but Jockey's training was really good at times. Kind of was really varied with what they gave us, and you did take a lot in for their training. So it probably was quite a noticeable change
Hmm.
in the training that, from my point of view, when they took over. Yeah.
Can you recall, I appreciate, Graham, it's a long time ago, but can you recall the time when you were told to step up and actually train with the first team?
um, it probably wasn't that long before my debut, to be honest.
Okay.
Probably trained now and again with them, but no for a consistent period of time. And then I do remember there was maybe about 4 or 5 of us had kind of went over with like Greg, Lee Gardner, Scott Harvey. Kind of was a few of us getting more involved with the first team, and but it wasn't like regular. It wasn't like all the time. And so probably it was 1990 when I made my debut. So it was probably just maybe about the start of that year, I would think, or maybe just the early part of that year.
Did you notice a significant change in standards when you stepped up to train with the first team?
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, kind of the quality of the players that we had at that time. It kind of was really high standard, the likes of Jim Bett, Robert Connacht, kind of Stuart McKimmie. You could rattle off numerous players there, but yeah, it was a really high standard to try and get involved with it. But you just saw yourself as a youngster, and you would just try your best when you were there and try to know like too out of place. But they were all really good. I mean, and they would help you. They would sort of help you out, and they would um, kind of make you feel part of it almost. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't like you were out of place or that. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your debut because you made your debut against Dundee United at Pittodrie. You came on as a substitute. It was on the 18th of April, 1990. Is it a day that you can still vividly recall?
I remember the debut. I can't really remember the build up. I'd been on the bench a couple of weeks before it, but against Rangers actually, but I never got on.
Okay.
I think that was the first time I was strapped, and then yeah, and then obviously the game against Dundee United. I remember being on the bench. It was actually Greg. I mean, it just shows you how it's maybe fate, but Greg started at right back that day, so we were kind of both vying probably for the same positions. I think maybe Stuart McKimmie was obviously injured that night, or he was getting rested. I'm not sure. So Greg started the game because Greg had been doing really well as well and deserved his chance. And then Greg, I don't know if he pulled his hamstring or he certainly got injured at half time.
Okay.
And then I went on at the back of that. So I remember going on. One thing I do remember is that because it was a midweek game and we'd actually played Dundee United. I'm sure it was a few days before that in the reserves, and I was playing against the same player.
Ah, really?
Alan Preston. Is it Alan Preston? I think
Yeah.
Biscuits
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
So he was playing on the left side. So it was a wee bit more because at least I knew who because I'd played against him just a few days before. So I wasn't really like scared or anything like that. I was quite looking forward to it. And then it went okay, and then we won the game. So it was totally on a high. It was certainly something to remember. Yeah.
See, because I was looking at the team actually from that game, and there's a lot of youngsters in that team, and I've always been intrigued to know, Graham, if when you're in that dressing room situation and when you know that you're sort of breaking through into the first team, do the youngsters support each other? Do you encourage each other, or are you so focused that you just don't have time to do that?
No, I would say we were all quite supportive of each other. Again, it's
Mm.
no like we were, even if you were vying for the same position, we were all quite friendly. I was kind of good friends with Greg, for example, with Ian and Scott Booth. So yeah, Stevie Wright. I was friends with them all. So no, I wouldn't. If they were getting in before me, I wouldn't. I'd still be encouraging them, and likewise with myself. And I didn't think there was any jealousy or anything like that. I think they were probably happy for me, as
Hmm.
long as and just wanting me to do well. So no, I would say we probably more supported each other rather than anybody giving anybody stick or that. Yeah, hoping they were getting injured or that.
Yeah. See, after you made your debut, so you featured both against Hearts and St Mirren, and then you came on for what was the Scottish Cup final dress rehearsal against Celtic at Celtic Park. You started that game. That was obviously
Yeah.
when Alex played what was a very young side, and there was a lot of hoo-ha about it. When did Alex name his team? Just general, you can generalize it when he would name his team, and
Yeah.
how much sort of notice were you given, particularly for that Celtic game that you were going to start?
Yeah, we didn't we generally didn't name his team like well beforehand. It was just really in the build up to the match. I think it wasn't until we actually arrived there
Oh,
that we
really?
obviously knew there was a young squad that was going down.
Yeah.
Um, I think he would just tell us when we got there. I can't really remember. Sometimes there maybe, or you would have a team meeting if you were going to a hotel for a pre-match meal or that. Sometimes they would tell you there, but it wasn't like hours and hours in advance that you get to know the team.
Okay.
So we knew obviously it was a young squad that was going down. I think there was a bit of a hoo-ha about it at the time because I think they were trying to say, because I think in the league, I can't even remember about the league, but um, I think it was going to have some effect on the league if we got beat that night, or if I
Yeah.
can't really remember, but. Um, but
Did you, sorry, Graham, I was just going to ask, did you prefer to know well in advance, or were you quite happy to sort of know maybe an hour before kickoff that you were going to play? What did you prefer?
um, Probably just I was that used to it. I mean, it's probably always been that way that I would just find out an hour or so before the match, or
Okay.
you'd always prepare yourself for the match no matter what, and even if you're going to be on the bench, or so I always certainly prepared the same way. So yeah, it didn't make a massive difference to me. I'd probably say just before the match, or an hour and a half before the match, I was totally fine with that.
So you only
Probably,
scored.
probably didn't have to think about it as much. It could have you found out the night before
Yeah,
or that,
yeah,
and you'd probably worry and maybe stress about it a wee bit more.
yeah, totally get that. Let's talk about your one and only goal for the football club. Can you
Yeah,
recall it?
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. Well, yeah,
Can you talk me
wasn't
through it?
much of a goal, but it was a bit of a tap in. But I suppose they'll count.
They all
Yeah,
count. I was just going to say, it's one of those memories that I sometimes, I do ask a lot of ex-players, do you remember your debut and do you remember your first goal for the club? And there's always a pattern. Most people say, yeah, absolutely, never forgotten my first goal for the club. Um, it must always stay in there, I guess, eh?
yeah. I suppose I did. I suppose myself, I didn't. Obviously, certainly in the first team, that well, as you say, it was more a goal. So it's no one that I'm going to forget. But I suppose maybe different for somebody like Ian Jess who'd scored. But I'm sure he still remembers his first one really well.
Oh, he
But
does, yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, I do remember it well. It was a really good game. Can we play? I remember Scott Booth was immense that night for his first game. He kind of tore them to shreds a bit, and Ian obviously had a couple. I'm sure he scored a couple that night as well. So, but to be honest, I think it was that kind of done well on the left and crossed it in, and the ball just come through, and I couldn't. Although it was on my left foot, I couldn't really miss it. Or if I'd missed it, I would have been
Belters.
got a bit of stick a bit.
Let's talk
But
about the
yeah, it
cup
was.
final, the
Yeah,
1990 cup final, Graham, because again, I'm really interested to know because you did play quite regularly for the first team in the build up to the final. So was there ever a thought in your mind, I might get a chance to start this game? Did that ever cross your mind?
no,
No,
not at all. I
really.
was see, to be totally honest, I was just, especially after the Celtic game, I knew in the build up to the final there was a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
with certain boys in the team. I think Stuart McKimmie, I think they were maybe resting him up. I know Willie Miller didn't play in the final, but there was a couple of boys I think that were maybe resting. So I knew kind of hadn't played much. I think when we beat Celtic, which was a surprise to everybody, the biggest hope that I was looking for was maybe just to make the squad. I'd have been totally happy. And when I was in the squad, I was totally happy with that. And no thinking for a minute that I'd be in the 13
Okay.
for in the 13 for the game. And I think it wasn't until I think I shared the room with David Robertson, I'm sure, when so we travelled down on the Friday. The build up to it was great. There was a lot of attention, obviously. So yeah, that was all, and it was good to be a part of that. And then I think we done a wee light training session on the Saturday morning, down in Glasgow, and that's when Alex Smith told me that I was going to be on the bench, and I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that. I was
Really?
delighted, obviously,
Yeah.
because I know there was a lot of players that could quite easily have been on the bench as well. There was a lot of guys that were sitting out that had been a big part of getting us to the final. I know Big Willem had scored a few goals, and Craig Robertson. Yeah, there was a number of players that, and Willie, obviously, Willie was in the 13 either. So yeah, I mean, I was really happy, but a bit surprised as well.
Mm. What was the mood in the dressing room like just before kickoff? Just before, so you've gone out, you've done the warm ups, and then you come back in. How was that sort of 4 or 5 minutes in the dressing room?
Yeah, I think we were really confident because I'm sure we were favourites for the game,
Yeah, yeah,
and everybody expected us to win. As I say, when you look at the starting team that we had then, it was really strong, and that was with Ian. Me and Ian were on the bench, so um, yeah, really confident before the game. I think we were thought we had a really good chance to win it. We knew Celtic were obviously going to be dangerous and had a lot of good players as well. But yeah, more than confident that we would, especially I suppose beating them the week before as well. With a weakened team, if you like. So
Okay, so the penalties. We don't need to talk much about the game because there's not much to talk about.
no, it wasn't the
But
best.
for the penalties in that time when the full time whistle goes and then you get ready to take the penalty kicks, can you just sort of explain, what happens during that period, Graham? Does the manager come to you and ask you if you want to take a penalty? Have they already sort of pre-planned it? Had it been pre-prepared? Can you just give us a feel for what it was like in those few minutes?
To be honest, I wasn't. So I know there was a few boys practicing during the week penalties, and I know Charlie certainly was practicing putting in that top corner where he put it,
Okay.
and training. There wasn't from my recollection, there wasn't a discussion beforehand. It wasn't until the game was finished, where I think it was Jockey and Alec came out and they decided who was going to be in the five.
Okay.
For myself, I just when the game was finished, I thought that's me. It was a bit weird the final, even when I come on as a sub, and to be part of it was brilliant. And sometimes I was just watching the game, thinking, "Oh, I could go on and make a difference here." It was weird, and when I got the shout to go on in extra time, it was just all a bit surreal. And then when the game finished, I thought, "Well, that's me. That's me. I'm not going to be involved." And then so they picked the penalties. I just remember Jockey because I think they decided who was going to be first and last. Jim Bett, who was the penalty taker, was going to be first, and Charlie was going to be the fifth one.
Yeah.
And I think they decided that whoever else, I wasn't a part of that discussion. And we basically stood in the centre circle, and obviously the penalties were going on. And then when it came to the sudden death, it was weird. There wasn't really any discussion between us. It was really weird. Um, I just remember, I think it was Hans Heelhouse. I remember him coming to say to me during that, or if you take a penalty, just pick what side and didn't change your mind. And
Okay.
that was kind of sticking in my mind. So I did think about it. I'm never going to have to take one, but if I do, I know where I'm going to put it. And then I just continued, and it was weird because Celtic were obviously going first. So anytime Celtic scored, it was just like we were all the remaining ones were just standing, and I think it was Big Alec went first. So I think he thought he had to take responsibility, so he went first in the sudden death, and then it was just somebody else would go next without really any discussions. They would just walk forward. It was weird, and then until it was just myself and Brian, it was left. Um, and we're both starting. It's actually quite funny, and I'm sure Brian will be all right with saying this. And so we're standing in the centre circle, and it was I think it was Jakinowski was away to take the penalty. So one of us knew, but to go next, it had to be one of us. So Brian's were so it was weird. There's all this bedlam going on round about us, and we were having this discussion. So he's going, "What do you think, then?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you think?" He says, "Well, I've not got much confidence hitting a penalty,"
Oh,
and I
really?
says, "I'm not that confident either." And I'll never forget. He says to me, "Just imagine you're in training."
Amazing.
And I think there's all this bedlam going about. So Jakinowski scored, and then one of us had to, and I just went forward at that point, and that was really the choice. And it was just so much. I knew where I was going to put it, but the only thing is, when I tried to spot it was like the ball kept rolling back a wee bit. So I was wanting to make sure it was sitting right on the spot. So I think you see me take it. So I actually spotted it, but it was a wee bit in front of the spot.
Oh, the ref
And
made you
uh,
change it, didn't he?
and the ref made me change it. So I had to put it back a wee bit. And
Yeah.
then I didn't. I mean, obviously, I was aware of some noise, but I wasn't aware that apparently the Celtic players were geeing up the Celtic fans. Is what I heard after it. I'll not name names who it was, but well, it was. It was. I think I heard it was Paul McStay. But so when he missed against Wraith Rovers, it was a bit of revenge, I think. But
So
um,
all that noise that was going on around you, because I can clearly remember it, Graham, because
yeah,
they upped their levels when you were walking towards the 18
yeah.
yard box. So you were able to sort of blank that all out, block it all out.
The kind of memory is that I remember when I stepped forward, I kind of started walking, and I just thought it looks miles away then
Yeah.
into the goal. So I started jogging just to get up there quicker. To be honest, I wasn't that aware of it. As I say, I was aware of the noise, obviously, but no that had kind of risen a bit. As I say, I was more concentrated where I was going to put it. Right, didn't change your mind. I'd get a good connection on it, make sure it's spotted right, and I think I took a big, massive run up.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then luckily Pat Bonner dived the wrong way as he did for most of them, but we're all kind of in that side. But the relief when it went in was just it was unbelievable, and I just kind of thought, thank God I'm not the one to lose us the cup. So that was really a total relief that it went in.
You see, because one of the for me one of the best moments of that cup final is when you've scored. Is for a fleeting moment, you look to the heavens, and it's a brilliant shot of you looking to the heavens, and it is literally like, thank God.
No, it totally was. It was just that was just pure relief. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about winning the cup at that point. I was just thinking, thank God I've not lost us the cup. That
Yeah,
was really what I was thinking. And then luckily, it probably went against Celtic maybe a wee bit because then Theo got involved with the crowd. I think after what happened to me, and I always remember actually when the game finished because I was up directly against Anton Rogan when I came on as a sub.
mm,
And when the final whistle went, I always remember him saying, "Oh no, no penalties." And then lo and behold, he's the one that misses it. Although it was a really good save with Theo,
yeah,
to be
yeah.
fair.
Yeah. So can you explain, because I've asked some of your colleagues about this, and they say it's just, again, the moment, that sort of 2 or 3 minutes between Theo saving it from Anton Rogan and then Big Brian stepping up. Did you have actually, because you knew what he'd said beforehand, so did you have the confidence in him that he was going to score?
I wasn't sure. It seemed to happen really quick. I didn't think he kind of mucked about when he got up there. It just,
Boom.
it was really quick. There wasn't much build up to it. It wasn't like he took his time. So I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I can probably thinking if he misses it, at least we're still in. We've no lost the cup. That was the main thing. So,
yeah.
but when it went in, yeah, it was a great feeling. Probably thinking about the bonus more. as a young
What,
19-year-old.
what was your bonus? Was it cash or was it anything else?
No, it was just a bonus. Just bonus payment, yeah. But I'll not go into what it
No,
was.
no, 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 no. You don't have to tell us that. No, 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 no. I'm not prying for that. Sorry.
We
So,
were, we were in the bath after that, shouting for more, but I didn't really go.
I really
We didn't get it. Nah.
brilliant. In hindsight, Graham, after that, you were so unlucky with your injuries. In hindsight, do you think your injuries basically hindered your time at Aberdeen?
Um, yeah, I think after the cup final, when there's nothing to say that next season I would have been in the team or anything like that. I think it probably would have been challenging, maybe.
Mm.
Certainly to be in, or certainly in the squad. And when I broke my leg, kind of right after, well, probably within a few weeks of the cup final. Yeah, that was a bit a hard one to take. And but I did come back from that.
Mm.
And I played a few games, and I did come back quite strong after sort of my recovery from my break, and did break back into the team, but and played a few games. Then it was probably when Alex Smith got sacked,
Mm.
because obviously it was Alec and Jockey that I got my chance, who I got my chance under, and it kind of changed a bit after that, and because I just signed a new after the cup final. I'd signed a new 4-year contract.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a lot happening, and then obviously you see boys going ahead of you, and Ken Stevie Wright broke into the team. Obviously Ian was doing brilliant, and all the young boys were kind of coming to the fore as well. So um, yeah, that probably did have some impact, definitely. Injuries when I was up there,
Mm.
because
Was
it
that
wasn't just that once. I did break my leg in my last season
yeah,
as
yeah,
well, believe it or
twice.
not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which
When
is
Willie was the manager.
yeah, it's just so unlucky. Was it a difficult decision to leave?
Well, it wasn't really my decision.
Oh,
I've got
right.
a free,
Okay.
so yeah. So it was. To be honest with you, I probably knew that it was time to go. Under Willie, I didn't think I played a game under Willie actually. Um, for whatever reason, I'm not sure. Got on great with Willie as a player, and I still get on fine with him now. When I see him now and again, I put the former player stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just obviously wasn't in his plans, and I kind of knew that I probably needed to move on somewhere else, to get a chance or to get back playing again, because I broke my leg, I think, just a few months before the end of that season, and then I think when I came back, I was only fit for kind of a few games. So I played a few reserve games, but I pretty much knew that I'd probably have to move on. So yeah, it was really difficult because I'd been up there, well, basically going up training since I was probably 13. So I was up there for 8 years.
Mm.
So it was a sad day. It was really sad. And I'm sure it's the same for anybody that when they leave a club. But when you know, kind of because it was such a family club, and you knew all the staff that worked behind the scenes, and the chefs and the cooks and that, and the people in the offices. Yeah, as it's it's really hard, and obviously to say to all the players and that as well that you've kind of grown up with, and I stayed with Gary Smith at the time, who was
Mm.
who still is a good mate of mine. But
Mm.
so yeah, it's difficult, really difficult, and I ended up moving back down into Fife after that.
So we haven't got very long left, so I'd just like to ask you just to finish off.
Yeah,
So you went into the police force after you stopped playing, is that right?
yeah,
Yeah. Are you still in the police force, Graham?
yeah. I'm still in the police. That's just coming up. That's about 24 and a half. Been in the police.
Is that right? Oh
I'm
wow.
a Yeah, I'm an inspector, so kind of go up the ranks a wee bit.
Yeah, good for you.
So yeah, no, I enjoy it, really enjoy it, and really enjoyed because we had a football team in the police as well. We had a few ex-pros in the Fife. We had a really good Fife team.
Did you?
So I enjoyed that side of it as well. Played with the Scottish team and the British team. So yeah, it was really good.
Oh, brilliant. Did you get a cap?
Yeah, I've got a few Scotland caps. Yeah, a few
Yeah,
Scotland caps. Yeah, no, it
very
was really good. I really enjoyed that time.
brilliant. Graham, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me today. Thank you.
No problem, Alec.
Absolutely brilliant. Hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Okay, cheers. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode with Graham Watson. If you haven't already done so, I would be very grateful if you would please consider subscribing to Ali Begg ABTV. We've got big plans for the new season, and I really hope you can jump on board. That's it. We're all done for this edition of Begg's Banter. I really hope you enjoyed today's chat, and I'll see you again very soon for our brand new episode with an ex-Aberdeen player. Take care. Bye for now.